are here, they will not leave. It's like this. You can keep that for visiting. How's the weather? I'm excited for talking.
I am. How you doing? It's so good to see you. I'm gonna see you on the night. Yeah. How's your yeah, yes. How's it going? Yes. Congratulations to you. Y'all in the front, so it's easy to meet you. I already know you. Michelle, okay, nice to meet you. Which program? Everybody's okay. So all y'all, I gotta meet you now. Kristen, okay. Well, welcome. Enjoy your day.
This is the first time I'm sitting in the last one. But I never keep it.
Spotlight. Is everyone ready for the lecture, the 9 o'clock lecture? No? Okay. Well, good morning. Papaefthymiou is my name. I'm the dean for the school. You know, when I was a grad student, I didn't know who the dean was. I didn't even know that the dean existed. I didn't know what dean means. Well, back then. Now I do, painfully so. But welcome. I'm here just for the next 10 or 15 minutes to say hi, welcome you to the school. This is a school of information and computer sciences, so it's not just informatics or computer science or statistics. It's an unusual place in a good way. And so I want to take a few minutes to tell you about the school, the sort of sixth floor view of what's happening. And then for the rest of the day, you'll have to deal with the departments and with the faculty and the other students, which is really the more important part of the visit. I'm not the most important part of the visit. I'm the least important. So that's why I'm here 9 o'clock in the morning when everyone is kind of still, waking up. By the way, how many of you are from different time zones? I'm just curious. Okay, are you awake? You must be awake, right? Because I assume you're not from Hawaii. Maybe you are, but. So here's the story. This is a school that has been in existence for the past 17 years or so. And it's been growing and will continue to grow. I'd like to say that the slope of the school is very, very steep. Just last year, we hired 12 new faculty across the whole operation. This year, we're looking for another 15. Next year, we're looking for another 10. The following year, we'll be looking for another 10. So we are approximately 90 tenure-track faculty, 87 to be precise. And we have another 13 lecturers who help with teaching. We hope to break 100 this year. We'll see how our hiring goes. And the plan is to go up to 115 in the next 3 years or so, plus or minus. So there's a lot of excitement. There's a lot of new stuff that's happening in the school. And I think it's a great environment for folks to do their PhD studies. Of course, I'm biased, right? So at the end of this little pep talk, I'll ask you to ask me questions to get, to the real story. We have about 800 graduate students in the school. roughly 300 PhD students, a little bit less than 300, about 500 master's students in very many different programs. And undergraduates, approximately 3,000 undergraduate students among the 7 majors in the school. The school itself is part of the University of California Irvine campus. There's another 12 schools, I believe, on this campus. And it's really like a candy shop. So you come here and you're surrounded by all these exciting things to do. And one of the challenges is to basically narrow your focus and do what PhD students tend to do after a couple of years, which is, tunnel vision, do your thing, write your papers, be known for what you do during your PhD, and then go off and do exciting things either in academia or in industry. The campus, the location. Yes, I'm not going to tell you about the sunny days and all these things. It's every day like that. It's boring after a while, believe it or not. I know if you come from the East Coast, that's exciting. Or even the Midwest, of course. But yes, the weather is what it is. We're only a couple of miles from the coast, which is great if you want to just take a break and go and see the water, the big water. It's 10 minutes away, literally. But the location, I think, it's not Silicon Valley. I'll grant you that. I will admit that. But it's not bad at all. There's a lot of high tech in the area. A lot of folks get internships in the area. They don't have to go up to the Bay Area or Seattle or anywhere else. Google is around the corner. Amazon is around the corner. Many other high tech companies in the cybersecurity space, in the gaming space, are in the area. So lots of opportunities to stick around during the summer if you don't want to change, your location. And it's by no means a sleepy place. We have fantastic folks who are helping with our graduate programs. Chris Bolser is sitting there. And I can say that with a straight face. It's a place where people care about your success. We're not MIT, I would say that. But that gives us an incentive to try harder, like Avis would say, right? And I think there is a genuine desire on the part of the faculty and on the part of the staff to see people succeed. The program has been growing. I think this is the biggest ever graduate day. I remember being in this room last year. I think we were about 50-something. This is time around is 60-something. You can guess how it's going to go, right? 60, 70-something next year, 80-something next year. And overall, it's a place where things are happening. Did I forget anything? Chris? Certainly not. So how much time do I have? I have another 20 minutes, my goodness, that's a lot of time. Hey, can we break this monotony? How about you guys ask some questions? I have time for a lot of questions. I don't have slides. In the past couple of years I had slides. I thought, I'm done with slides because everyone falls asleep after 5 minutes. And, Yes, question.
I guess I'd be curious kind of what parts of the school are growing fastest. It's pretty clear there's.
Oh, that's a great question.
Growth, but where is that happening?
It's the kind of situation when everyone is above average, so everyone is growing faster than everyone else, right? But I will say that it's kind of true. It's not 100% true. Obviously, math won't work out if that were the case. But I will say that there is an emphasis on all things data-centric. So the buzzwords are big data and data science and all that. We have a very, very strong group in the area of machine learning. It's one of the best in the country, and I do say that with a straight face. And there is a lot of emphasis there and a lot of hiring there. But that's not the only thing that's outstanding in the school. We certainly have outstanding strengths in the informatics department in the area of human-computer interaction, health informatics. Many folks dealing with the social aspects of computing, which are becoming more and more important. I mean, we can come up with great technologies, but if these technologies ruin the world around us, that's not a good thing, right? So we didn't really accomplish something. So we have a lot of folks who look at the societal impact of computing technologies, and they're extremely good. We have one of the best, if not the best, group in the country that looks into learning. And how does information technology help with learning or enable learning? And this is all happening in the informatics department. Moving over to the computer science operation, I did talk about the machine learning group and the AI effort, which is really, really focusing on machine learning. It's very data-centric. Lots of overlaps with the statisticians, and that's a great synergy. The whole, everything data science between the computer science folks and the statistics folks is basically covered extremely well. Going back to CS, there is a lot of strengths in the, we have a growing theory group, certainly. We have strengths in the embedded space. However you define embedded space, I think of it as small things that where you don't see the computing device, but I think it's really meant to mean computer architecture. In most other places, you would call it computer architecture. A strong graphics group. There is activity in the graphics area that's very, very strong. And networking, a lot of work in networking and security. So, Chris, do we give copies of the propaganda material, the annual review? We have a lot of propaganda material. Do we get copies of this for the students?
The departments have them.
The departments have them. So every year we publish this year in review, and we try to highlight some of the area. Obviously, we cannot do everything in 60 pages, and I invariably end up pissing colleagues off how come my work is not there. And my answer is that because when our folks ask you to interview for the annual review, you weren't available. So we just took the interviews of those who were there. So next year, make sure you reply to that email. But yes, that year in review will give you a good sense of what's happening. Our website is work in progress. We're hiring a professional firm to redo our website because I don't think it's as informative as it ought to be. There's much more stuff happening, and you cannot really see that from the web pages. Lots of pages are obsolete. The look is kind of, a little bit behind the times. But yes, that's my long-winded answer to your question. Yes?
I understand that your vision is growth for the School of Informatics and Computer Science. How does diversity play a role in your vision for growth?
Yeah, no, that's a great question. It's a top priority. Speaking of diversity, our assistant dean for Office of the Sarnia Artist is assistant dean for access and inclusion. Is sitting right here with us. Obviously, the space of computing, you don't need me to tell you that, right? Is a pretty, let's say, not as diverse as it ought to be. And we all have to do our part. It's a long pipeline, we cannot fix everything in the 4 years of an undergraduate degree or the 5, 6, 7, 10 years. I'm kidding. Of a PhD degree. No. On the average, our students are done by year 5, which is great. You cannot fix everything in one stage of the pipeline or 2 stages of the pipeline, but it's a very high priority. We do our part. Our hiring focuses a lot on opportunities to diversify our faculty. Hopefully, we're going to do very, very well this year. Have some very early acceptance letters that are coming in from faculty candidates, and it looks like it's going to be a very good year for us on that front. And with students, it sort of happens to a large extent organically because the students reflect the population of the state. About 20% of our students are not from the state of California. 1/10 is international, 1/10 is from other parts of the country, about 80% is from the state. And this place, not necessarily the school, maybe the school, but I don't have the statistics, but this campus was the #1 UC campus in terms of in-state applicants. We surpassed UCLA for the very first time this year, which shows it's indicative, right? And again, I'm the biased person in the room, obviously, but there is a lot of stuff happening on this campus, and there is a lot of momentum picking up, and the world is noticing. I'm not going to say our mission is done. In fact, it's going to be a story that will unfold for many, many years. But diversity is one of the aspects that makes us on the radar, puts us on the radar.
You want me to tell them
Yes,
a little bit about
please.
some of our other efforts?
Yes, that'd
Yes,
be great.
Sarnia is really our
But
resident
so
expert.
we'll have to turn around unless y'all want to.
You can
Well,
come up here.
welcome all of you. I walked around and met a few of you, but we're so excited that you're here. As Dean Mario said, my name is Sharnia Artis. I'm the Assistant Dean of our Office of Access and Inclusion. And so our office mission is to ensure that not only our students, our faculty and staff are diverse, but making sure that everyone here is having a great experience and they're thriving in their academic careers and being successful. And Dean Marios gave you some of the demographics. We have lots of programs in place. In particular, we have a diversity ambassador for each of the departments. Thanks to Dean
We're
Marios.
doing it for all three
And
departments now,
there-
right? We started
Right,
with one.
we
of
started
them.
with one, and now we have two, and I think next year the plan is to have 3 diversity ambassadors, and this is relatively new. Our office has been around for 4 years, and so each year we're building on our efforts. And the diversity ambassador is a graduate student that actually helps recruit students from diverse backgrounds. And here in California, when we think about diversity, it's a really broad perspective of diversity. So it goes beyond women, it goes beyond students of color, those that are first in their family to go to college, those that may be veterans, students that may have started out on a community college pathway to come to graduate school, those that may have a disability. If you are from a rural town, it's a really broad perspective, and so we have lots of things in place. So we have our diversity ambassadors, and I'm not sure if you all have heard of DECADE yet. I never can remember the acronym, so I pulled it up first. DECADE stands for Diverse Educational Community and Doctoral Experience. And DECADE is an initiative that was started by our UCI graduate division. So right now you're in the school. There's also the university that has efforts. So our Office of Access and Inclusion oversees the diversity efforts for ICS. Then there's the Office of Inclusive Excellence that oversees diversity initiatives for the entire campus. And they work with our UCI graduate division. But the DECADE program actually has student engagement at the campus level as well as the school level. There's a DECADE Student Council for the entire campus that promotes diversity initiatives. Then there's also a school-wide DECADE Student Council, and we have a Bridging the Gap series every quarter. It includes a professional development workshop and a social for all of our graduate students. And really, it really is about opening up conversations about different backgrounds, being successful, and how you can thrive as a graduate student. So those are just a couple of things that we have in place. And if you need more information, you can always ask any of the faculty and staff and students that you'll see today, or I can give you my contact information. I have some business cards that I can leave in the back. But welcome to all of you again.
Thank you, Sonia. Other questions? Come on. Yeah.
So another question.
Okay.
Somebody else had a question, please.
Let's go around robin. Let's take that other question down.
What's your favorite part about Irvine?
Yes, that was my question.
What's your favorite part about Irvine?
What's the best part?
Your favorite part? I don't know.
My favorite part.
Subjectively, not
You
objectively.
mean Irvine proper or the neighborhood in several?
The school, the city itself, yeah. Everything.
Man, that's a tough question. My office, I hang out. I like it, We do fun work here. But if I were to step outside the office, I do like the ocean and all the waterfront areas. I'm not sure you would call it waterfront. There's no. But it's a great place to go and just to flow. Just decompress. You walk on the beach. In fact, in many ways, it feels like you're always in a resort, which is kind of a downside. When did you work around here, right? So there is a little bit of that. But no, there's plenty of work to go around, and it's very, very good to have easy ways to just break away from it and just take some time off and pick up. Irvine itself is not the most happening college town. Let's put it this way. Which for graduate students, I don't think it's a big problem. For undergraduates, it could be an issue, right? But for grad students, I think there's plenty of stuff to do when you're not busy writing the next paper and making the next great discovery. I think it's a very collegial place. Speaking from the faculty side, I meet with the students every year, grad students, undergraduate students, and my sense is that overall there is there's a level of a sense of satisfaction about what's happening. Housing, I hear, is very, very good compared to other places. For the students, right? For the grown-ups, we try to find a place in the area that can be a different story. But for the students, I think the housing is really first-class housing. When you go around comparing the buying power of your support, I think it's probably one of the best offers you're going to get out there, is my sense. I may be wrong. I'm happy to be proven wrong, actually. Primarily because of the housing situation, which is very, very well taken care of. Anyway, that's my
Yeah, thank you.
long-winded answer here as well. Yes, next question.
I had the same question.
The same question. Oh, I didn't know.
No, I was interested because it's different. It's
It's different.
than I expected.
You know, I'll tell you my honest, well, I'm honest as much as I can, but here's the other thing, right? You've seen the Dr. Seuss books, right? Some of you grew up on the Dr. Seuss books, right? So these strange plants that you see there, which I always thought it was strange because I spent my previous 30 years east of the Mississippi, as I would say, they're out here, okay? All these funny, bizarre palm trees that you see in the children books. They're out here, they're real, they exist, right? And it's part of this, the place is somewhat exotic, right? It doesn't feel like the rest of the country. And again, it's a mixed blessing. I think it's really a positive thing because you get used to being in exotic places before you know it. But it's an interesting environment. It's a very different environment. I hear people have difficulty leaving this place because they like it a lot after a while. I know many of our students find jobs in the area, PhDs, right? And not the undergraduates, all the companies that I mentioned. So, it's not a bad deal overall. It's not a bad package. Yes, there was it.
Yeah, you mentioned some of the industrial giants that operate in the area,
Right.
Google, Amazon, et cetera.
Right.
To what extent, or lack of extent, does this department cooperate with or work with, not necessarily those companies
Yeah.
specifically, but
No, that's a
the
great question. About 10% of our research expenditures come from industry. It's a good number. It's not a small number. It's not a huge number either. It's kind of a balanced situation, I would say. You mentioned Google. Google in particular, we do a lot of things with Google. A lot of our faculty have ongoing collaborations. A lot of our students go there over the summer. Some of them stay with full-time jobs. Chris, where is Chris? Oh, one of the things we should do next time, I'm not sure whether we bring recent alums who are in the area to talk to you guys. Chris, the question came up how much we interact with Google and all these other giants. And one idea for next time, if we haven't done it already, I know we get another idea from the dean, maybe have some of our recent PhDs who work in the area meet with our students.
Sure. I will definitely pass that on to the departments.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So yes, many of our students are, as part of those ongoing collaborations, end up working here. But as I said, about 10% of our research funding and spend is coming from industry collaborations, not simply from the area, but from all over the country. Other questions? There must be another question. We have a couple of minutes.
Shall I ask?
Yes, please.
So you joined a couple of years ago, right?
I joined January 2017.
I was wondering why you joined UCIBrenICS.
Why? So I was at the University of Michigan since September of '96 for 20-something years. And I wasn't looking to leave, and I know many of you may have offers from U of M. It's a great place. But I was tapped on the shoulder, and they said, look, there's this great school down there, which is going to be growing, and all the vectors are basically pointing in the right direction. It is a school of computing where you have statisticians and informaticians, I guess if there is such a word, together with the computer science folks, and that's a dynamite combination, right? You go to every other school in the country, and you won't see that kind of integration. In some places, you may see some of that. But that's exactly the kind of combination you want to have around the space of computing, because it's not only the technology, there's the mathematical side, which is becoming more and more relevant with all the data that we have to sort of analyze in a systematic way and meaningful way. And all the societal aspects of computing that are becoming, you read the newspapers, right? You don't need me to tell you how important it has become. So just the combination of being in an environment like that and having the opportunity to basically generate the technologies for the next century, which is really this century, the 21st, that's really unique. So this is one, a combination. The resources, this is not a place that is suffering. We're not a private place, but we're not suffering either, right? So you have the opportunity to do things. We're hiring all this faculty, right? You're not going going to find, again, too many places that have the ability to hire so aggressively. So that's great. It means that you can, put a stake for the future. The area is very interesting. Again, it's not a valley. It's not the Boston area. Maybe it's not Austin. Maybe it is Austin, but in a different sort of profile of the companies that we have here. So it does strike a balance between the things that you can do in academia and the stuff that you can do outside academia. Lots of consulting opportunities, lots of grounding to the real world, right? It's not just your next paper. It's also, well, what do really people care to see come out of a technology place? So these three items for me were very, very powerful. Again, I'm not going to talk about the weather because you get used to it, for better or for worse. It was raining. Last week was raining again, right?
It was raining again.
Again, what's this?
It's gonna rain again
I can see snow on the mountains, but I don't want to see rain every week coming down. This is unacceptable. Anyway, other questions? We thought of doing this earlier. We thought of doing this in February, so all of you who come from the real, really cold parts of the world, you really appreciate what it means to have days in the 70s in February. Yes?
So, there being a couple of departments under the ICS school, how does collaboration...
Exactly three.
So how does the collaboration work between the PhD students as well? So you mentioned that CS and stats professors collaborate a lot with whatever.
Yes. You can basically work with any advisor you want in the school. In most cases, certainly in many cases, advisors, faculty have joint appointments among, in multiple departments. So, we don't have an organized way of putting people together from different departments, but you go around, you see what people do, and you just work with them. This is happening more extensively in the data science space, the interface between computer science and statistics. We have a lot of CS students who work with statistics faculty and vice versa, lots of statistics students who work with CS faculty. It happens completely organically. You go and you talk to people and you see what they do, and there is interest, there is funding, and you just take it from there. In the security space, we have quite a bit of overlap between computer science and informatics. Because you get into, before you know it, you get into usability aspects and user interface aspects. And there is quite a bit of overlap there as well. I'm trying to think of other areas. Software engineering, machine learning, these folks are working together to come up with interesting ways to look at development of software. I mean, these are just a few answers. Other questions? Are we running out of time? Come on, one more question. Yes.
Are there any internal fundings or grants to support the PhD research?
Internal grants. So basically, the way we structure your support is tries to keep all the stuff kind of hidden in the background. You won't have to worry about it. You get a 5-year guarantee, and we somehow make it work. Now, how we do it is our problem. We don't want you to worry about how you pay your bills. You're here to do your work, right, and do all these exciting discoveries. So yes, we have all sorts of different sources of funding. There's a lot of teaching support. There's a lot of fellowship funding that we throw into the mix left and right. But we keep most of that, if not all of that, kind of hidden in the background. It's kind of in the back end of the system. Because again, we don't want you to worry about it. The offers that you get is, here's a 5-year guarantee, don't worry about it. Make sure you do your work. Make sure your advisor is happy, right? Because that's a gating kind of a element. But as long as you are making progress, academic progress, and you're in good standing, we find support for you. So that's how it works. Now there are fellowships. If you're looking for the kind of feather in the hat, on the hat kind of a thing, yes, there are fellowships, and we announce these fellowships. The usual culprits, Google, we always have Google fellowships, but we also have other fellowships who, endowed by, benefactors, and these things just come in new once every year, and we have new announcements coming out every year. So yes, there is an opportunity to get that named fellowship because you do all these outstanding things, and you submit your paperwork, and you get selected. Other questions? Going once, going twice. I don't want to be known as the one who delayed the visit. So I see the time, it's 9:30. Chris, are we good to go? Should we call it? Should we call it an introduction and a welcome?
I'm sorry?
Are we done? Are we okay? Good, 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 good. Excellent.
Casual, you're going to be talked at a lot today, so
Yes.
we just wanted to try to talk with you guys,
Yes.
but a lot more is going to open up for you. You're going to be meeting with faculty, you're going to be meeting with grad students, a couple different perspectives. So I know we have some hosts here, if you guys want to stand up and lead your students to whatever floor you're going to. So I think we have some CS hosts, some informatics hosts, and I don't know if I saw the stats.
I see
earlier,
Sangu. Where's Alfred? We lost Alfred.
Yeah.
Anyway, make sure you talk back in a good way, right? Because if you're constantly talked at, it's going to be a very, very long day. Just you know, try to get the facts. You know, don't settle for the marketing. Okay, folks, have a great day. It's great to have you here.
Staff is going to the second floor.